LGBT Americans grow up knowing that they could be the next victim of a hate crime. The liberal media and political left refuse to identify and condemn radical Islamic terror and the ideology of hatred that fuels it, an ideology that throws LGBT people off of rooftops to their deaths in many parts of the world, while they mock the founding principles of our country as bigoted and outdated. But for LGBT American citizens, it's those old, fat, white founders and their Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms that gives them the freedom of a fighting chance.
I think one of the most encouraging things we've seen over the last 20 years is the willingness of non-traditional groups to get involved in gun ownership.
Not only in the NRA, but across the country, gun ownership is breaking barriers in terms of race and gender.
Second Amendment rights are especially relevant to anyone who's disenfranchised or discriminated against or threatened. And when you talk about the LGBT community, we have seen examples of them being targeted, not only by bullies and punks, but by ideological killers like the person in Orlando.
What happened in Orlando was not the first case of a terror attack against the gay community. This was not the first attack. It won't be the last attack either. The management of the Shiloh shooting range in Houston, Texas, received an unexpected response when they reached out to the LGBT community in the wake of Orlando.
It was a Sunday morning. We woke up, my dad and I were taking a pistol class together. We were talking, we needed to do something about this. We've got a good friend of ours who shoots here on a regular basis, and he's a gay man. His name is Ryan Thomas.
I've had my license to carry for, a couple of years. After Orlando, things, heightened.
Anytime that something like that is to happen in the community, it has an effect.
We decided that we wanted to do something for Ryan's friends. And so we offered Ryan to, tell his buddies, tell his friends that they could come out here and get a free license to carry class. We figured at most Ryan might be able to get us 20 to 40 members of the LGBT community. And 653 signups later, we then found out just how social our friend Ryan was.
As soon as it hit the news, it blew up like crazy. The phones were just ringing off the hook. The email server went down, it crashed. We had such a big response to it.
I dreamed about phones ringing for the next 10 days because that's all that happened from the time I walked in the door till the time that I closed up the shop at night.
We really thought it was gonna be like 1 or 2 classes maybe, and it was just filling up, and we can only accommodate so many in any given class.
I was shocked and surprised at the response that I got, not only from the community itself, but from the shooting community. I had licensed to carry instructors from all over the state send me emails and call me and ask if there was anything they could do, from teaching a class to just coming in and sweeping up brass behind the shooters.
He got a lot of threats from people that, because he was trying to do it. So he actually had volunteers standing out here, standing in the sun, in the middle of Texas heat.
Veterans.
Pouring sweat to make sure that we were safe.
What kind of smart guy threatens a shooting range?
Exactly, yeah.
When we did this offer to the LGBT community, we had no idea what the response would be. And this has been a tremendously fulfilling experience that we've had, welcoming in a new group of gun rights advocates, potential Second Amendment advocates. I challenge other gun shops, gun ranges, licensed to carry instructors, do the same thing.
It's helped out more than what he could probably even ever imagine. It's not that hard to do. It's actually very safe.
Just shooting back and forth. Dead bodies everywhere.
Hey, still shooting.
It's sad that it took a massacre to make people understand that. That's the bad thing.
I've always thought about it before, but I definitely have to say that with what has happened in Orlando, it was the catalyst that really led me to my decision. And also, I don't know if y'all remember, but at F-Bar, there's a boy, he was shot, only 22 years old. A lot of the media has kept that on the hush too. There's a lot that we know about that nobody else does.
Because we're not important enough, we're the gay community.
Exactly.
The only place they could go to judgment-free was taken away from them in one fell swoop, and it was taken away in a rather horrific manner. and that was their wake-up call.
I actually work a lot in bars, and ever since I took this class, I actually have asked myself, like, what's gonna happen? You know, I mean, the bouncer doesn't have a gun. You know, somebody could come in, take down the bouncer, there you go. There, you know, it's gonna be a bunch of chaos again.
It turns into the proverbial human hunting ground.
Exactly. Everything that's happened, I just think any moment.
In the wake of Orlando, members of the LGBT community across the nation are determined never again to be sitting ducks in the face of violent hatred.
I think the right to keep and bear arms is important to everybody, but I think it is going to be most necessary for those who are most at risk of becoming the victims of violent crime. And members of the LGBT community have been targeted for crimes because of who they are.
No one deserves to be murdered for their sexual orientation. Everyone should have the right to defend themselves.
But yet, we have individuals out here advocating against their ability to do that. Where in the world does that make any sense? It doesn't.
People can sit here and talk about equality 6 ways to Sunday, but you don't really believe in equality if you do not believe in the equal opportunity of self-defense. And denying a group the ability to protect themselves, that to me is the height of bigotry. The growing ranks of LGBT gun owners is good news for that community's ability to defend against hatred. But the trend also shows the relevance of firearm ownership in the 21st century, as people from all demographics and walks of life find comfort in their rights. I hope that we'll see more firearm trainers and range owners reaching out in the manner that we've seen here, and more gun owners reaching out to educate our fellow citizens of all backgrounds about the importance of their rights.